So I was in Romania doing my dissertation research, and it was around, I don't know what had caused, there was a like sudden media ballooning. I think the numbers spiked as lots of people anticipated the closure of the Hungarian border, so numbers have started to build up, and the numbers, because there was no formal state support in Hungary, or kind of liaison with the police, and they'd shut the station in Caleti because the government's a very right-wing xenophobic government. It was trying to stop people getting into Europe. So 9,000 people built up in the station. So all of a sudden the kind of crisis got a load of media attention along with that photo that kind of catalysed a lot of people's empathy, and so it just kind of happened to come up when I was reading the news in Romania, and it was like, I don't know if this makes sense, you know. And so I went, and when I got there it was very clear from the get-go that there was such little formal provision, formal support work, that very quickly you start to get involved, and very quickly you're very important because you're one of 20, say, or like in the night one of 15, and that's kind of what kept me there. I'd got there and had only planned to stay for a day or two, and when I got there I asked what was needed, and they said one of the major problems with a lot of people, I mean it's a kind of tragic indictment of what happens when there's no formal state provision, is it forces everything underground, and that kind of, it forces people into much vulnerable, darker spaces of kind of networks. So people smuggling was a massive problem in Hungary, because people were so scared of the government they weren't taking official trains or buses from the border towns. They'd been picked up by taxi drivers, picked up by rubbish citizens who were, you know, mercilessly exploiting people, robbing them, dropping them off in forests on the sides of the motorways, taking some people to these hotels where they're keeping them prisoner and kind of fleecing them for their money until they let them go. And so one of the real issues, other than blankets and the kind of, you know, your basic survival needs of in the station, blankets, medical stations, food and water, some people just arriving with no money, and were stuck in Hungary. And so when I kind of had a meeting, we arranged a meeting with there were two different groups in the station, and they said one of the problems is people were building up in the station who didn't have the money to buy the ticket into Austria. And so what I decided to do was to raise funds for people, because 10 quid got you a ticket to the border, and then across the border people were safe. So I was getting money sent directly to me. I borrowed a load of money off some friends and family so I could just buy it then, and we kind of reimbursed myself afterwards. It was like as simple as buying a £10 train ticket to like get someone to a country that would recognise them as a human being and process their asylum request. So yeah, that's where most of the money went. Sometimes as well, because of the kind of, on the 15th, Hungary like declared they were going to shut the southern border, so lots of people were kind of rushing to get through, so 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people would come through the station each day. And the way it would happen was people would travel by night because they felt a lot safer travelling in the dark, because they were very dubious and scared of state authorities. So throughout the night, starting at kind of 11, loads of people would start to kind of trickle into the station. Some people having walked all the way from the border over kind of a week, some people having got people smugglers, some people having like taken the risk on buses. And they'd arrive and we'd give them some food, some water, some blankets, some mats, all very thin, all kind of money for people like me who'd gone and raised and just, you know, were doing taxi runs to IKEA and buying 2 taxis full of blankets. And there was a kind of a fenced off area in the kind of metro under the main station. And the first few nights I was there, what would happen is everyone would just bunch up at the gate because they would kind of wanted to get a ticket as soon as they could in the morning, and then rush to the ticket offices because there was no queuing system set up. It'd be really inefficient. The police would freak out and kind of shut gates and be swinging, you know, batons at people. And this was crowds of families and pregnant women and children kind of getting crushed against the gates. So one of the things we did was borrowed some posts from the police from the train station and got some police tape, and we set up queuing systems in the metro underneath, which meant that in the night beforehand we could kind of arrange people who had tickets, who didn't have tickets, families in a separate queue, which meant that when they opened it in the morning we could kind of slowly, you know, 100 by 100 get people on trains. And also like because there was no coordination, it also meant like the simple thing of going and speaking to the train conductors and asking, can we have a few more extra trains, you know, because as you can see there's so many people here, and then being like, yeah, I guess we can arrange a few trains. And that was just like a few of us volunteers going, deciding on our own volition to have that chat, and all of a sudden we were clearing everybody by just after lunchtime. The station would be empty of the people who'd got in the night before, and for the people who arrived with their money, who would have just been sitting and waiting, they had tickets across the border, which was like ridiculous, like tragic that such little effort and imagination can make that critical difference, and kind of quite scary when you thought, oh, you know, what if the 10 of us weren't here? You know, what if the 10 of us hadn't decided, and me as well, what if I hadn't decided to like take a casual photograph on my computer and like whack something up on my Facebook profile, which, you know, in the end it's like, yeah, it raised a load of money, thousands of pounds.